Hello everyone, this is the first lesson recording for IM1, May 21st, 2021. We started off by doing quiz number 6 on geometry symbols, triangle, angle sum, and triangle congruence. So if you missed it, then please contact me as soon as possible to make up the quiz. The time is really running out. Alright, so let's go back to thinking about undo operations. Okay, what undo operation should be applied if I'm trying to solve x plus 5 is equal to 10? We're looking for a value of x that will make this equation true in trying to find the x, right? So what is it that we don't want? We want to just find x is equal to something. So I don't want this plus 5. So how do I undo plus 5? It is by subtracting 5. So the undo operation to adding 5 to the variable x is subtract 5. So I am going to subtract 5 from both sides, and that leaves me with x is equal to 10 minus 5 is 5. I know a lot of you are just putting in the values and you know that it has to be 5. I want you to do it algebraically because you're going to need this as the math gets more complicated. Trust me. Okay? So then what's the next? Alright, what if I have x minus 3 is 12? So what is the undo operation for subtract 3? It is to add 3. The opposite of subtracting is adding. So adding and subtracting, they undo each other. Okay? So negative 3 plus 3, just that becomes 0. So you're left with x. Just x on the left hand side of the equal sign. And 12 plus 3 is 15. So I know that the value of x has to be 15 to make this equation true. Next, what if I have 2x is equal to 12? Alright, so I am looking for a number that multiplied by 2 is going to be equal to 12. I want you to solve algebraically. Not by guess and check, as in plugging in the values and see what values makes this equation true, because believe me, the numbers could be much more complicated, like 2 over 73 x is equal to 12. Okay, what are you going to do? Are you comfortable? Are you confident in what you need to do if the numbers are a lot more complicated than just 2? You see, the idea is you are going to learn how to do this whether the numbers are complicated or not. It's the same principle. That is the reason we ask you to do it algebraically, not by guess and check. So I know that 2 is being multiplied to x. So how do I undo multiplying by 2? Okay, so there is an invisible multiplication symbol right there. So 2 being multiplied to x, I don't want this 2 there. 2 is being multiplied to x, so what is undoing of multiplication? That's dividing by 2. So that becomes my giant one, and you're left with x is equal to 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay? Next, I have x. I have this problem. What should I be doing? What is being done to x? What does this fraction line mean? What operation does the fraction line mean? Is it multiplication, addition, subtraction, or division? It's same as division. You can read the left hand side as x divided by 4. What is opposite of divide by 4? How do I undo divide by 4? I multiply. Remember, multiplying in multiplication and division, they are opposite to each other. Okay? So that is going to be x is going to be equal to 5 times 4, which is 20. Alright? Then next, I have x squared is equal to 13. Okay, so that gets a little bit tricky. What does it mean x squared is equal to 13? I know that means that x times x is equal to 13. One number multiplies to itself twice is going to give 13 as the whole number. Well, I don't really know that. So how do I undo squaring? What is the opposite of squaring? Well, let's think about this value first, okay? When we're looking for the value of x that makes this true, we're looking for what numbers multiplied to itself twice gets 13. If I was to try, say, a number like 3, if x was 3, x times x is going to be 9. Okay? If x was, say, 4, x times x is going to be 16. That's too big. So I know that x, the value of x, has to be bigger than 3 but smaller than 16, because you see, 13 is bigger than 9 but it is smaller than 16. So when I'm thinking about what number this is, I know it. The opposite of squaring is square rooting. Okay, square rooting, and you have seen this symbol, square root symbol. See, when I square, and this is squaring and then square rooting. Square and square rooting, they actually cancel each other out and they both disappear. Okay, when you see square and square rooting together, they undo each other, and on the left hand side you're just left with x. On the right hand side you have square root of 13 here. Okay, and to figure out what is square root of 13, I know that square root of 13 is going to be bigger than square root of 9 but smaller than square root of 16. Now, do we know what number multiplies to itself? What is square root of 9? What number is it that multiplies to itself twice will give 9? It's going to be 3. So it's going to be the square root of 13 is some number between 16, between 4 because I know this is 4. Okay, square root of 16, what is the number that multiplies to itself is going to give you 16 is 4. Okay, so it's some number between 3 and 4. What is that exactly? Well, I want you to use the calculator and find the value for yourself. Okay, so pull out your calculator, find your square root symbol, and plug in square root of 13. And each calculator is going to be slightly different. Okay, so if I pull out my calculator, and your calculator is going to be different, slightly different, and the way calculators work is also going to be slightly different. So you actually just need to get used to whatever calculator you're using. So square root symbol, where is the square root symbol? It's this one. Okay, sometimes you have the bar across, but this is just the shorthand for square root. So if I'm looking for square root of 13, I'm going to click on this. Do you see the square root symbol coming up? Then I am going to enter 1, 3, and then press equals. And it's giving me this number. Okay, this is a very long number, complicated number. It's 3.60555. Remember, we were expecting the number to be between 3 and 4, and it so happens it is 3.60555127546. Okay, so you know what? I am going to copy this. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that if I multiply this number by so if I multiply the answer I got and multiply that number again, look what happens. Okay, I am going to get 13. So I'm looking for the number that multiplies to itself twice will get you this is actually not exact. This gets you to 13, and that's the number. Okay, so the calculator is doing that for you. So opposite of squaring is going to be square rooting, and the square root of 13 is 3 hang on, let me do that again. Square root of 13 is 3 points, so x is going to be 3.605551275, and it goes on forever. It's a number that goes on forever, even though your calculator only gives you certain digits. Now, if I was interested in if I said that find the value to 2 decimal place, what does that mean? That means there is my decimal point right there. After the decimal point, you go 2 more digits, and you're going to cut it off right here. But before I cut it off, I need to consider the next digit. Okay, looking at the next digit is 5. If the number is 5 or bigger, then we round up, and 5 is the cutoff point, and this is bigger than 5, so that means we make it go up by 1. This digit go up by 1. So 2 decimal place, x is going to be 3.61. So 3.61. If I was doing it to 1 decimal place, it will be 3.6. When I'm taking a square root of some number, I'm looking for some number that will multiply to itself twice, that will get the same number that we're trying to find the square root of. Okay? So now it's a calculator time. You are going to pull out a calculator. It's okay if you want to use your phone or calculator on your Chromebook, or scientific calculator. Scientific calculator would actually be preferred, but I don't really care what it is because it's all going to do the same thing. Alright, if I give you what is the value of 15, x squared is 15. What is x? How do I find x? Well, I want you to, what you do is you take a square root of both sides. Just as we could add 5 to both sides or divide by 5, as long as I do the same thing to both sides of the equal sign, we were allowed to do that. Okay, and that's the same thing as here. You can take a square root of both sides as well. Okay, so when I take a square root of both sides, remember the square and the square root symbol, they cancel each other out because they undo each other. So you're left with just x on one side, and on the right hand side you have square root of 15. And now it's the time to pull out your calculator and figure out what is square root of 15. So square root of 15, if I use my calculator, I get 3.8729. And again, if I was to round it to 1 decimal place or 2 decimal place, that means I'm going to cut it off here. Look at my next digit, it's less than 5, so I do not need to touch anything, and I know that x in this case is going to be 3.87. This time I have a bit more complicated number. I have 79.1 is equal to x squared. Okay, again, I want to find what x is equal to, not what x squared is equal to. So I'm going to take a square root of both sides. Remember, when I do that, the squaring and the square rooting, they cancel each other out, and you're just left with x on one side of the equal sign. So I'm going to write it down here. And on the other side of the equal sign is square root of 79.1. And this is when you pull out your calculator and enter what is square root of 79.1. Okay, and I get 8.8938 and so on. And again, if I wanted to find two decimal place, I need to cut it off right here. looking at this digit,